LaMelo Ball, is he the star the Hornets can count on? And have they now found a breakthrough that's going to keep him healthy and on the court? I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're at 4,300 subscribers right now. We want to hit 5,000 before the start of the regular season. So do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Johnny, how you doing? Let's talk some LaMelo Ball.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about LaMelo because we haven't talked about, I don't think we've talked about the Hornets yet. So definitely really
A lot
cool to
of people
talk about
don't.
some other teams. Hey, but some of the people that are fans of some of these teams are looking for more coverage of them. So we're definitely
Exactly.
happy to be able to do that for you guys on Basketball Bulletin. So make sure you do subscribe for more.
100%, 100%. So you take a look at LaMelo Ball. I mean, just looking at his stats, this is a guy who is incredibly talented. I mean, look at these numbers: 24 points per game last season, 8 assists, 5 boards. The guy could shoot as well, 37% from three for his career, 36% last season. The field goal percentage, I mean, leaves a little something to be desired, but he's playing on a bad team with the Hornets. You know, the shot quality is not going to be great. This is a guy who is not just someone who pops on the box score, but who's a lot of fun to watch. Incredibly creative as a passer. You can see he picks up steals as well. This is a guy that can be one of the most exciting young players in the NBA. But, Donnie, there's a problem. 22 games played last season, 36 the season before that. He can't stay on the floor. Donnie, if LaMelo was consistently healthy, if he was able to stay healthy, where is he in the pantheon of young NBA stars?
Yeah, I didn't realize LaMelo was going into his 5th season.
Yeah.
That is pretty crazy. And, we talk about the health stuff. He was also pretty hurt his rookie year. He only had his sophomore year where he was good, health wise. And so I think that's really, really holding him back. But he's got the potential, as shown here by the numbers, to be a good player. I was going to say rookie because I was just talking about his rookie year. He's got the potential to be a good player, and I think that he's one of these guys that's a little bit forgotten and should be, at least in that second tier of younger players currently in the league right now. So definitely is somebody that's at this point, I think, underachieved due to his health concerns and the team issues.
Yeah, I mean, certainly his standing is not what it once was among NBA fans, but still very young player. And you look at what the Hornets have said recently. I mean, just 22 years old last season. This will be his age 23 season that he's going into. But take a look at this. I think this is really interesting. So he's had ankle issues. This was new Hornets coach Charles Lee, who had this to say about LaMelo, talking about his injuries. Injuries are part of the game, unfortunately, in all sports. What we can do and what we can control is a lot of preparation we put into it beforehand. To skip ahead a bit here, he said that he's been rehabbing his ankles and doing what he needs to do, doing the ankle rehab he needs to. But he said, I think the plan is to try to wear the ankle braces. Now, ankle braces have bothered him a bit in the past, but the Hornets have this plan. He's going to wear these ankle braces as much as possible and put him in the best. That's going to put him in the best position to have success. And then as they continue through the season, we'll evaluate how that's helping or hurting, or if things are staying the status quo. So they have a plan in place of wearing these ankle braces for LaMelo. They will adjust as things go on, but their hope is that this is going to be the breakthrough that they need in order to keep him on the floor. Because when he's on the floor, the Hornets are simply much better. He's an incredibly fun player. The NBA is a more fun place when LaMelo Ball is on the floor, and the Hornets believe they've got a way to accomplish that. Donnie, this is the kind of thing that you want to see heading into a season, that not only are they recognizing that, yes, ankle injuries have been a problem, but that they also have a plan in place to hopefully, fingers crossed, solve it.
Yeah, definitely. I guess that one could say, or one could surmise, that apparently the Hornets have cracked the LaMelo Ball code. So that's pretty interesting. I think it's one of those things where, like you said, injuries are something you can't predict. It's just so unfortunate because he is somebody that, like I said, like you said a moment ago, is extremely fun to watch and should be better off. And I think that the team is in an interesting situation where now is definitely the time for him to come in and show what he can do alongside other young players that they have there and have been able to retain there and put around him. And the team should, if healthy, be able to push for at least a playing spot in my opinion. And and he's going to be a really big part of that. And the ankle thing is kind of interesting because what part of me is like, it's reminding me a lot of early Steph. And I'm not saying he's obviously going to
Mm.
have that same trajectory, but he was having a lot of issues. And there was a thing where like even the Bucks didn't want to take him because they were like, nah, his medicals are too bad in trade stuff. I don't know if you know about that or heard about that.
Yeah,
But
and in fact, his contract that he got, the reason part of the reason why the
yeah.
Warriors, even when the salary cap went up, remember they didn't want to do cap smoothing,
Mhm.
and that allowed the NBAPA didn't want to do cap smoothing, and that allowed Kevin Durant to actually
Yeah.
join the Warriors because the cap jumped up so much. Part of the reason why he was able to do that was because Steph Curry's salary was so small relative to his superstar status. Because when he signed the deal, there were concerns about ankle injuries. So that's actually a really good comparison that LaMelo Ball dealing with ankle injuries early in his career, Steph Curry did as well.
Yeah, it's almost like you have a blueprint of how you can help him manage this and overcome this. Now, everybody is not going to be the same. His body's going to be different. His situation is different. Obviously, that goes without saying. But it does remind me a lot of that. And again, I'm not expecting him to have the same career. I got to make all that very clear. But I do think that if they follow a similar trend, and if LaMelo is able to get on the floor, show what he can do, be healthy, I think this team can be really fun and very good to watch as well.
Yeah, I'm not expecting them to be a great team regardless, but can they
Yeah.
be a fun team? Can they be an enjoyable team? Certainly more fun when LaMelo Ball, the flair for passing that he's got, so much fun to watch. But check this out, though. This I think is really interesting. So this is from the Charlotte Observer. Okay, this is via Hoops Hype who found this. This is a big season for LaMelo Ball, according to the Charlotte Observer, one that could have significant ramifications on his future in Charlotte, according to multiple sources. So this
Hmm.
could potentially, what happens this season or does not happen this season, could be a big factor in his long-term future, how long he actually stays with the Hornets. He is just starting on his rookie max deal, new contract kicking in $35 million. So the Hornets want to know, now that they've got Brandon Miller in place, and he flashed a little bit last season, had some moments, they've got some interesting young talent on this team. They want to know, do we have our 1A guy? Is that what LaMelo Ball is? They've got to keep him on the floor so they can find that out. But that's going to be a big question mark for them this season. Is LaMelo Ball our 1A guy that we're building around or not? And if he's not, well, that'll be really interesting to see how the Hornets respond. Do we start to hear LaMelo Ball trade rumors if they make the decision that he's not? Sounds like there is a lot riding on this season, and there's reasons beyond just what he can do on the court, what he can do for the team, for him to stay healthy. The Hornets want to get a true evaluation of whether or not he is going to be their star.
Yeah, if he is in any situation where he's not able to be that, you would obviously like to get off of him and get assets for him if possible, sooner than later, so you can further your rebuild, right? I don't know that they would go for that, but they need to see him be healthy. They need to see him produce, and they need to see what this team can be. I actually really like this roster. Just looking at it here, I really like this roster in terms of who they have here, how it looks. You know, we talk a lot about Brandon. They have Josh. I like Grant here. Miles, Bridges is pretty solid here. I like Martin. I like this roster a lot. Trey Mann down there. I
More
like
than
this
you
roster.
expected to, right?
Yeah. They have a really fun looking roster. And so I think that this team could be one of those dark horse teams, but it all hinges on a couple of things, one of which is LaMelo Ball's health.
You know, I think the problem with the Hornets, and it's okay because I'm not expecting them to be a playoff team. They're obviously not a contender. They're not pushing for any of that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I think their Achilles heel right now, it's their depth. They don't have a particularly deep roster, but if you look at that first five, can be pretty tough. And they've got a few guys off their bench, but once injuries start to hit, then they start to run into some problems. I like Nick Richards a lot in the middle as a center. Mark Williams, he's really good as well. Nick Smith Jr. was a guy who we liked in the draft a couple of years back. They've got some talent on this team. But then randomly, when you're looking at this roster, it's so weird. Yeah. Taj Gibson, what are you doing there? Why are you not on the Knicks with Tom Thibodeau right now? You know he always loves to add Taj Gibson, but there's 39-year-old Taj Gibson. I think what this is the Hornets said, and I know we're mostly talking about LaMelo Ball here, but the Hornets said, oh my gosh, We've got this young team. We need an adult in the room. Somebody quick call Taj Gibson.
They got Seth Curry down there too, so they got a few
Oh, there you
vets over
go.
here.
They needed
But
a few
yeah,
vets.
yeah, their whole team is 23, 24, 25,
Yeah.
in that area. So yeah, probably so. But I actually do like this roster. I think if you lose one of these guys from your top 5 here listed, I mean, then yeah, it's not going to look good. But I do think they have a decent chance to win mid 30s, high 30s, which probably gets you into the plan. So that could be a fun spot for them to be in.
So the priorities for the Hornets this season, not necessarily going to be winning games, but they are going to do what they can. They could wind up, given the fact that they're in the Eastern Conference, they could fall backwards into a play-in tournament spot. That's possible. I don't even know if that's something they want to do. They probably
Yeah.
would like to get as high of a draft pick as they can, but they need to know, is LaMelo Ball our guy? That's winning is really important in the NBA, but for teams that are in the Hornets position that are trying to build for the future, there are things that are more important than that. And right now, number one, it's make sure LaMelo Ball can stay healthy. Have a plan in place. They've got that done. They feel like they have the code cracked, that they figured out what they need to do to keep LaMelo Ball on the floor. Fingers crossed. Hope they are correct. And then from there, it's, is he the guy? Is he our guy or not? And then you figure out your path forward from that. Is he a true 1A player? Yes or no? That's the question that they need
Does it
answered, and that's what LaMelo Ball is going to need to show them this season.
does it work if he's not the 1A guy to where they want to retain him? Because what if Brandon Miller
Yeah.
just naturally elevates to that? Because that's a
Oh yeah,
possibility too. So
absolutely.
like he
And
could be your second guy.
And that's okay. That's okay. If
Yeah.
LaMelo Ball is going to be your secondary guy and maybe Brandon Miller becomes your 1A guy. He was really good last season.
Yeah.
Maybe it's somebody they get in the draft this coming year, but it changes the way you're going to build your team, right? You look at the Mavs. Who are you going to? Luka is the guy. Though he's going to have the ball all the time. When you make every move, you're going to think, how does this impact Luka? How does this fit in a Luka-centric offense? If LaMelo Ball is not that guy, if he's more of a complimentary guy, if he is the Robin to someone else's Batman, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And especially given the rookie max salary isn't like a 10-year max. It's certainly not that kind of a number that's kind of weighing down your salary cap. You can still build a team out with LaMelo Ball on the number that he's at, even if he's not your 1A guy. But it changes the way you're going to look at building your team out for the future and change what your priorities are to a degree. If he's not necessarily the piece that you need to really maximize, if it's we need to get the very best out of Brandon Miller in order to be successful, that's going to change the way that you build out your roster compared to we need to get the best out of LaMelo Ball. So I think that's why it's not so much we're definitely going to move LaMelo if he's not a 1A guy. I think it does make him a little bit more available on the market if he's not. But if he's not, it doesn't mean it's the end of his time with the Hornets. It just means they have to approach their roster build a bit differently.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was just wondering about that because I think that they fell backwards into a high pick and got a really good player because of the fact that LaMelo has been out. And now you have a situation where you've got 2 really good young prospects on your team, and you want to see who's what you have. And then ultimately over the next year or two, you're going to want to start establishing a culture once you figure that out. So I was just wondering about Brandon, and I think that he's got a good chance to be that. Maybe it's a 1A, 1B thing. But LaMelo, nonetheless, we've talked about it earlier. He absolutely is somebody. I mean, the numbers, everything says it. He's somebody that should be really good for this team if he's more available. So I'm really looking forward to him potentially playing more this season.
Last thing here, and maybe this will be a factor that we see play out in the Hornets season. They keep their pick if it's 1 through 14. If it's a lottery pick, they will keep their pick. Otherwise, it goes to San Antonio. Maybe a little bit of extra incentive to drop a few games and duck out of that play-in tournament. Get those ping pong balls and see if they can capture the flag, Cooper flag, and get him in the draft lottery. So the Hornets, I think, a more exciting team to keep an eye on than most people give them credit for. And LaMelo Ball, I hope finally, after 2 years of just dealing with relentless injuries, we see him bounce back in a big way and burst back onto the scene as one of the most exciting young players in the NBA. Everybody, make sure you do subscribe to the Basketball Bulletin. Turn on those notifications as well. Donnie, I know we've had a lot coming out recently. What's your favorite thing that we've put out lately?
Well, I think everyone should check out that video that came out yesterday about how the Knicks pissed off the NBA. That one was pretty crazy. Make sure you check it out. You'll find it on the screen right now.